the lead 6 again. If Middleton has 17, the Suns unable to get closer. An historic performance from Giannis with 50, 14, 5 blocks. Sits down and the emotion of the moment has to settle with him. Can only imagine what he and Coach Budenholzer were down 0-2 to the Nets. They were down to the Hawks. They were down 0-2 in this series. And the Bucks celebrate. And Giannis are the champions. Take a look at a virtuoso performance, 16 of 25. Giannis finishes the 62% from the floor in this series. Again, such a critical component to tonight's performance and the victory in the end. 17 of 19 from the free throw line, which, as we know, has not been a strength throughout this postseason. All time, you think about a closeout performance, how do you frame it? Well, Magic had 42 and 15 in Game 6 against the Sixers to earn Finals MVP in 1980. Just an amazing performance from the young man. In Michael Jordan's final game as a member of the Bulls, closed out the last dance in style with 45. That iconic final moment, Jazz fans will tell you he pushed off. I suppose it all depends on how you're looking at it. That wrapped up the 6th title for the Bulls. For over 60 years, Bob Pettit stood alone for the most points ever in a clinching finals victory. In 58 against the Celtics, Pettit had 50, securing the Hawks their first and to date only end alone at 51. Missed that free throw. It didn't matter as Giannis and the Bucks get the victory. Tim Legler, one more time alongside. And as I say, these nights are fun because a championship's been won. It's been earned. And I just wonder, as we're going to talk a whole lot about Giannis, you get the first crack at it. How would you frame what he just gave us?
This is not remotely hyperbole or prisoner of the moment stuff. This is one of the greatest performances I've seen, certainly one of the greatest finals performances of my lifetime. And we just ran that clip of some of the other ones. And some of those I wasn't around for, wasn't born when Pettit dropped that big number. Right. Certainly remember the Magic one clearly, remember the MJ one. I was in the league when that happened. This ranks right up there. I mean, to think about a guy having the greatest night of his career when the stage is the biggest and the lights are the brightest. There's never been a more important moment than this moment for Giannis Antetokounmpo. How many athletes get to have their greatest night under those circumstances? It just doesn't happen historically. So for him to do it, and I think the thing that stood out to me, Scott, the most, I just don't recall ever seeing Giannis Antetokounmpo play a game with this combination of power and finesse. The free throw shooting's one thing. He also had a number of runners and floaters and driving off-balance layups that required immense touch that he was able to get down. And on a night when the two guys he really counts on offensively struggled pretty much the whole night. They had little moments, but for the most part, this was a guy putting an entire team, an entire franchise, an entire city on his back and making sure they weren't going to be denied. It's really remarkable what I just witnessed.
Watching him sit down at the end, I have to believe it's a combination of several things. Number one, exhaustion, given what he has given throughout these playoffs. And remembering this is 3 weeks ago that he hurt his knee and thought at the time he'd torn his ACL. And I would imagine, though he's just 26, you're carrying around a lot because there's so much conversation about what you haven't done and what you're not. And for whatever reason, the greatness of this man is put under this microscope. And it's
anything else, it's relief. I did it. I got this thing across the finish line. He's one of the rare guys I have said this about in the past. Maybe he's a guy that wants it so bad he can never have it because he will squeeze the ball too tight trying to make it happen in the moment and be not just a guy that wins. He wants to be the guy, Scott, that's responsible for dragging it across the finish line. And I thought at times throughout his career, though, that got him in trouble in these moments. So tonight, thank goodness he wanted it this badly and has wanted it this badly his entire career, because I think that is what he was exhibiting when he sat down in that private moment, shedding some tears alone. Everybody smart enough to let him have that time to himself. I bet he would say it was relief more than anything else that he was able to accomplish that goal that he set for himself.
You saw we had dueling phones there. I imagine it had to be FaceTime and his brother, right? Who couldn't be there, which is such a bummer.
Ultimate hype man. That's right.
Well, I mean, you know that when they get that time together, the celebration that they'll have. But as you push back, and again, you try not to be prisoner of the moment in the moment. But how does this free him up from whatever conversation has accompanied the last two playoffs where they ran into Toronto and couldn't get past them, and then the bubble, they just kind of flamed out. How does this change, in your estimation, what will be talked about as we move forward with Giannis and the Bucks?
If this is a staircase, he just jumped 5 steps in one night. Okay, he shed a lot of that stuff from the past 2 postseasons. I mean, Toronto, a couple years ago, they bottled him up specifically. That fell at his feet. He owned it. He got better. He was back in the gym 2 days later. The injuries that a lot of these teams faced. Okay, that's part of the discussion. Okay. Brooklyn, the Lakers, Clippers, like those teams are all decimated by injuries. Not taken away from what he did tonight. I mean, this is the ultimate answer. But all of those past failures, for me, throw them in the shredder. They're gone. He shed all of that tonight, and he's a champion, and he put that entire franchise on his back.
You and I are about the same age. The one thing that I've found is that when we look backwards, we tend to gloss over things that weren't. When your name's on the wall, when your name's on the trophy, I don't think we look as hard at what you didn't, who you didn't have to face. You won a chip, and you won it because the guy scored 50 points and was astounding. It wasn't just him. There's more to talk about, but he's clearly the headline on the marquee.
Best game he's ever played on the biggest night of his career.
Good night for your best night. All right, more coming with Tim Legler in just a bit, as we have throughout.
Maria Taylor in the Woodstock of basketball, the Deer District.
So cool.
That's right, Kevin. That's the best way to describe it. Over 60,000 fans have been waiting outside of the Fiserv Forum, and they have been showing out and partying. It was 49 seasons between championships, which is the most in NBA history, so they patiently waited. They've come and shown their support, and now they have an opportunity to celebrate their franchise's second ever NBA title. And for the first time in 5 decades, something tells me that no one's going to leave here anytime soon, because we still have to give out Finals MVP trophies. We still have to raise the Larry O'Brien trophy, and the celebration will continue because 9 days ago, the fans that sit in front of us in the Deer District told us, this is really simple, Bucks in six. And if you didn't believe it before, you better believe it now. Congratulations, Milwaukee. You are the 2021 NBA champions, and a lot of that is thanks to your Greek freak and 2-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo, Maria Taylor, alongside Adrian Wojnarowski, Jalen Rose. As you can see, we've been a part of the celebration. As the confetti was coming out, the stage got a little bit of it. But just give me an instant reaction to what we were able to witness here tonight.
Phoenix outplaying expectations this year. Congratulations on making it to the NBA Finals. But this atmosphere reminds me, and I've been doing this for 19 consecutive years, all championship rings ain't created equal.
Not at all.
It hit different when you build and you stay. And in 2013, Giannis and Chris Middleton were on a team that was 15 and 67. In 2021, they just won 16 straight. They just won 16 games to be world champions.
An iconic finals performance by Giannis Antetokounmpo. He always believed he could will this franchise to a championship. He's done it 8 years ago. He got out of plane in New York at the NBA draft for Milwaukee, had no idea where it was on the map. He's put it back on the NBA map, and I think this is a victory not just for Milwaukee and Giannis, but small markets in the NBA, that this is still a formula to win titles.
But also, here's what he did that was genius, Woj. When this team didn't reach their goals the last couple of years, when Philadelphia was still processing and the Raptors and the Heat were winning the East and the Nets created a super team, you know what he did? He reinvested in this team and re-signed before the season. There were so many people in basketball that were imploring Giannis to leave. So now when you stay, you make it calm for everybody else. There's no panic for Middleton. There's no panic when you add Drew Holiday. They know you're invested, and he was so very dominant today.
I said it once before, but I'll say it again. Giannis decided not to chase a championship like we've seen happen before, but to build one right here in Milwaukee. He was surrounded